All right, you're about to learn how to upgrade popsicles to make them brain boosting, immune enhancing, whatever your inspiration. We have Deborah Morgan from Kids Health Revolution excited to share with you this easy upgrade. All right, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Deborah Morgan from Kids Health Revolution. This is another episode of Easy Upgrades where we show you simple, easy recipes that you can add into your everyday that are going to upgrade your health, your kids' health, in fun, tasty, easy ways. Mm-hmm. So Deborah has come on as our guest this week, and she's got this incredible popsicle recipe that, it's got beets, it's got cherries, it's got low glycemic sweeteners, and really ultimately what we want to do today is empower you with the knowledge, the wisdom behind some of the foods, but primarily how you can take this recipe and customize it.
Right on. Yes, exactly. So depending on where you are in your journey with whole foods and upgrading your foods, you're going to want to play with these ingredients a little bit, and that's the beauty of these recipes is getting in and customizing and throwing stuff in as you want to do it.
That's right. So Deborah, you've been into health, nutrition for a little while, and you've got a special focus on kids' gut health, brain health. Want to tell us a little bit about that to set the context for where you're coming from, how those that are watching can use it, apply to their own health, their family, and
So background is with families. That's my passion, is working with families and helping get kids' health up and having them living up to their full potential, right? So my journey with this started, as you know, with my son who was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition at the age of 2. We were told, nothing to be done, sorry, you're just gonna have to learn to live with it. And we said, no, I don't think that that's going to work. So we started looking for some alternatives and things that we could do to really help his little body find balance. And using food as his medicine was one of the most powerful things we did, and doing some gut healing protocols. Because as I've learned since I've been on this journey, you can't have a healthy body if you don't have healthy guts, healthy roots of the tree. So we're going to talk about a recipe that you can use today that kids will love. Kids love ice cream. They love popsicles. And this is a way we can do it that's going to support the gut, support those roots of the tree, and also be nourishing the brain and the rest of the body at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are, we were just chatting about this before we got started, this idea, things like autism, ADD, autoimmune, a lot of, both adults and kids getting, labeled with, diagnosed with. Many people just kind of accept that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't accept it, and you've been helping a lot of people move past that. Right. And so if anybody's watching, you want to dig deeper with Deborah Morgan, check her out, kidshealthrevolution.com. A fantastic resource. She's got a blog. She has podcasts that she does, as well as consulting in different programs to dive in. Right. So today we're going to work a recipe here, something very simple, easy that you can make for yourself, for your kids. So let's get started, and we'll talk a little bit about the ingredients, why they're going in, the benefits as we start it. So
you bet.
Okay,
so remind me that we want to talk about some, some alterations in this. So if you have kids that are real beginners at this, so they're used to the ice cream from the ice cream truck, you're going to want to modify this a little bit, but we'll talk about that kind of as we go. So this is full of all kinds of whole food ingredients. We have beets are going in, so you'll need like about a medium-sized beet or a small beet. You can back off on the amount of beet if you think your kids are going to balk at that at first. But beets are really great because they have a compound in them called betaine, and that helps with production of serotonin. We know that the gut produces a lot of serotonin, and serotonin is called our sort of happiness neurotransmitter, right? So if there's any issues with depression or feeling low, then serotonin boosting foods are really helpful. So we throw in some beet for that.
So, and you might be thinking like popsicles, wow, we
Beets.
have fruits, we have veggies, we have herbs, it's all going into this amazing superfood popsicle here.
That's right, and we've got lots of great fiber with the beets as well. So and you don't notice it that much, especially if you have a really good high-powered blender. But a little tip, if you do have a child that's pretty picky and you're transitioning them off of a sort of processed food diet, you might want to either back off on the beets or start with like a beet juice at first,
Right.
and then slowly transition into using the whole beet.
Okay,
Thank you.
and then bananas is one of those
Bananas.
things that really helps add, binds things together, brings it nice smooth consistency.
Right on.
So that's one of
That
the reasons.
creaminess.
Yeah, plus some good flavor.
Yeah, and a little touch of the sweetness. Plus, they're a great fruit for minerals. So they're really high in potassium, and potassium is so important for our nervous system. It's one of those minerals that we really need to get more of, and in our processed food diets we tend to really be lacking. So bananas are great for that. And then the other sweetener we add into this are dates. And again, we're using low glycemic type sweeteners here. And the beauty of using like bananas and dates and some of the other sweeteners we'll talk about is that they come with their own nutrition, right? It's not like throwing a bunch of white sugar in there that ends up spiking your blood sugar and robbing your body of B vitamins. We're putting sweeteners in here that add flavor, but they're also giving us B vitamins, they're giving us minerals, they're giving us enzymes and all of those things that our bodies need to thrive. So sweetness with goodness.
All right,
at the same
sweetness
time.
with goodness. I love it. I love it.
So we're gonna add the cherries after. What else do we need here? I'll throw in the other sweetener. So while we're on the topic of sweeteners, this is the sweetener that I've put in this recipe. It's the YACON syrup. What's great about this one is it's very low glycemic, but it's also prebiotic, right? So it's food for our good bugs. And we know now that the bugs that live in your gut are talking to your brain. So we want to make sure that we keep those guys happy and healthy and thriving. So this is a great option now if you are at the beginning of your gut healing journey, or you or your child has candida or yeast or an overgrowth of other bacteria, you might want to start with honey instead, raw honey, because it's digested higher up in the intestine and it's not going to feed some of those little critters that we're trying to starve out. How much do I use of this? A quarter cup.
Quarter cup. All right, grab you a quarter cup measure here.
So I don't always measure with my recipes either, and that's one thing that I always like to teach people is don't get too hung up with having to make sure everything is exact. Do it to your taste and be oh my goodness.
It's pretty thick. So
it is thick.
Yeah, we'll talk about a few different options. So we have the yacon root syrup, the Jerusalem artichoke syrup. Those two are very similar in terms of being, again, that low glycemic, the prebiotic food that feeds your probiotics. That's the whole name of the game there. Honey, fantastic, wonderful. You can also do, no glycemic. So things that have actually no blood sugar effect except lowering. So the sweet fruit drops, this is a monk fruit or lohan guao. It's a Chinese herb. You can do stevia. There's lots of options there. So choose your own adventure in the sweetness that you want.
Sweetener world, that's right. And they all come with their different flavor profiles as well, right?
Yeah.
So I quite like the yacon syrup because it just adds a little bit of richness and depth, because as you can see, it's got that nice dark color to it. So
kind of like the consistency of a molasses. Its own flavor, but it's really good. So the lightcellar, we've got a number of these different sweeteners that you can pick and choose from to see what works for you. So.
Okay, so we've got all the sweeteners in there. Well, except for this one. Let's just add this in at the same time while we're on the sweeteners. So this is stevia leaf. You can also get stevia powder.
Or stevia extract.
Or extract, yeah. And now I like to tell people, if you're on the gut healing journey, to try and go with it as natural as possible at this point. So the leaf is, I think, the best way to go.
Can't get more natural than just the whole leaf.
Straight up leaf. So just a pinch of that in there. It's optional, but I find that it really pops up the flavor.
And this is kind of playing the game of adding different sweeteners versus just, a whole cup of sugar, right? You've got different sources of sweetness that each have their own properties, flavors, and you're building it up that way. It's a good way to go.
Exactly. Okay, so that's got the sweeteners in there. Now what we want to do, because one other aspect that's very important for brain health is making sure that we're balancing the blood sugar. So we've got these great whole food sweeteners, but we also want to get in some fats because that helps balance the blood sugar. So we're going to go in with about a tablespoon of ghee. And ghee is great because it's great brain food, and it's also got a particular type of fatty acid that's very good for the gut. that the intestinal cells just love. It's their favorite fuel.
And if you wanted to do this vegetarian or vegan, shall I say, you could also use coconut oil, also good for the brain, but we're going for the ghee today.
Yeah. And then we're getting some coconut in here. You could also just increase this amount if you wanted to. If you're doing the vegan route, you could increase the coconut manna instead of using the ghee. Are you okay if I dig in here with this?
Go for it. Yeah. Okay. So what this is coconut manna, coconut butter, coconut cream. Those are all words used interchangeably to describe essentially coconut, the whole meat, fat, everything, fiber, just ground up into a butter. Like we take almonds, make almond butter. It's not just the oil, but it's got all the fiber and everything in it. So it adds a wonderful creaminess and consistency.
Yeah, nice flavor, nice consistency. And of course, we're getting the medium chain triglycerides from it, which is also, again, a favored fuel of the brain. It doesn't have to go through the liver. Our bodies can just process it immediately and feed the brain for energy and fuel. So it's great for that. Okay, so we're going to go with cacao. So cacao is, well, among many things besides the fact that it tastes fabulous, is the fact that it helps increase the production of GABA in our bodies. And GABA is that calming neurotransmitter. So it's not like the one that you want to use to put you to sleep, but it just keeps us on this sort of nice even keel. So if you have a child that tends to be a little bit anxious, or anybody in your family errs on the anxious side, increasing GABA is really important. The bananas actually do that as well. So we're going to go with 3 nice big tablespoons of this. And this one, again, is something that you can play with. If your kids or your family like a really intense chocolatey flavor, you could certainly add more of this in. Or, you know, if you want to back off on it a bit, they're used to more of a milk chocolate, you could add a little bit less.
A little bit less, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to go for like the fudgicle kind of realm, adding the cacao as well as mesquite. Mesquite gives it that kind of like earthy, like caramel-like flavor. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's a powder you could just drop right in, just like that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along.
Yes. Turmeric.
Wow. So look at this. We got beets, we got cherries, we got turmeric, we have cacao, coconut. All this goodness is going right in. So. Okay, so of turmeric, you've got about a tablespoon that you're adding in here. So that's awesome.
It's quite a good amount. Now, again, we're used to the flavor of turmeric. If you're just starting out, your kiddo might be a little bit picky, back off on it a little bit at first, and then slowly start to increase it up. But turmeric is amazing in terms of its anti-inflammatory capabilities, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So if you have any inflammation in the brain, which we know a lot of the brain disorders, autism, anxiety, depression, all of these things are related to inflammation in the brain, then turmeric is great because it can get right in there and help take that inflammation down.
Awesome.
I also use it like if my kiddo gets a little of exposure to some sugars or something that promote that high blood sugar, therefore leaky brain. Turmeric goes in there and helps bring down that inflammation.
Cool.
So there you go. We have everything, I think. Oh, a little bit of salt.
And our ground chia.
Oh, and the chia, of course. So chia, again, gives those omega fatty acids, which are so essential for our brain health. And did we have a little pinch of some salt that we could throw in there? That just pops up the flavor. And I'm going to dump the cherries in right now. Now, if you don't have a really nice high-speed blender, which I don't at home, it's best to blend everything up first and then throw the cherries in. That way you kind of emulsify your fats. Okay, and some water. Now, Malcolm mentioned
totally.
tea.
So we've got 1¼ cup of water. So you can add that in, or what I love to do, anytime an ingredient calls for water, I think about, what kind of herbal tea could I put in there? And that builds kind of like a nice herbal, nutritious base. So for this recipe, instantly I thought, wow, nettles would be a really good kind of flavor combination. They would fit with the whole theme. That could be fantastic. But again, it's a choose your own adventure. It could be reishi mushroom, chaga, could be, ginkgo, or whatever it is that you have as a tea that you're inspired. This here, I've steeped it, put it into a jar. It's cold. I would just strain that off, put in as much as we needed, and blend it right in. So that's just a little hint.
So quick question with that. Would you have to strain it off, or could you put a little bit of the actual leaf in there.
Yeah, it's true. You could let that just all blend in. It might be a little bit of a kind of a texture, some fibrousness, so totally up to you. I would normally strain it. But
strain it out.
Yeah,
okay.
It could work. We're just going to take a quick little moment to blend this. We've got a lot in there. Probably have to give it a nice good 30 seconds or so to make sure we get a good little blend, smoothness. And if you have any comments or questions, just type them in the comment section below, and we'll get around to that as Deborah is blending. So love to hear from you. All right, away we go. Just gonna quickly pull things off the sides.
Scrape the sides down a bit. The chia tends to stick to the side a little bit when you leave it sitting there while we were chatting.
Yeah, but look at this. This is looking super good. Getting a nice consistency there. This is a NutriBullet. If you got the Vitamix, if you have the what's the other one? Blend Tech. Any of that kind of like high performance blenders, that'll do it. So we're just gonna give this one more quick little blend. Make sure we got everything nice and smooth. Oftentimes you can hear it as it's blending. You're not hearing those like crunches. Yeah. Everything's nice and smooth. Boy, I have to tell you, I had a quick little like taste as I was,
licking the spatula. Yeah, of course, that's the best part.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when texture-wise, when this comes out, it is a bit of like an iced pop, so a little bit like a sorbet.
Right.
And one tip that you could use if you wanted to get a bit more creamy in the chocolate realm is you could go as far as melting some raw cacao, putting that in, and that would creamify it a little bit more, be a bit more like that fudgicle sort of texture.
The cacao paste, or even a chocolate bar. Throw a chocolate bar.
Sure. Yeah. What the heck? No, don't do that.
All right. Okay. So now you would get any type of popsicle mold that you have.
Yep.
And fill them up, and then in they will go into the freezer.
Spilling it all over.
Yeah, that's kind of a narrow one, isn't it?
It is a little narrow. That's okay.
All right.
So you want to get it fairly high up and close to the top with these, so that you can actually pull it out on the stick. It happens to me all the time. If I don't fill them enough, then the stick comes out and you don't have a popsicle with it.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And that would go in the freezer. You'd probably have a little stand or something for it. Goes in the freezer until they're good and solid.
All right, cool. Okay, you're going to have the flamingo.
Yep.
I'll have the
so there you go.
The pink man.
Oh, there you go. Good for you. So that's what they look like in the end. These have been in the freezer for a couple of days out of the thing, so they look a little funky, but...
Oh, yeah.
Works, hey? Some weird looking ingredients, but it comes together.
Yeah. You would never know you have beets in there. I'm tasting the cherry, I'm tasting the chocolate. It's a nice, well-balanced sweetness. Again, which if you're watching at home, you can kind of adjust that exactly how you want it.
Tastes, yeah.
We got the creaminess from the coconut. Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I like it.
So. I like it too. Thank you. Ginger would be a nice addition too.
Oh, ginger. Yeah. So, hey, I'm so glad that it's warm out.
Me too. Finally, we can actually enjoy our popsicles.
So, now's the season.
Yeah.
Tis the season, right?
Tis the season for the popsicles.
Let's be making popsicles. Let's be enhancing our health, having some fun with these kinds of frozen treats. Hope you enjoyed watching. If you have any comments, you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, as well as connect with Deborah. So Deborah Morgan at Kids Health Revolution, a fantastic resource, especially when it comes to kids' health. She is there to help you out, even when you're facing what is the insurmountable,
what would seem to be insurmountable.
Yeah. So Deb's got all kinds of tricks like these types of popsicles to help you on your way, to get you there, you and your kids, upgrade their health. So thanks for being on. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to share this out and stay tuned. Easy Upgrades. We'll have another recipe next week coming at you live. Thanks again. All right, thanks for those on Instagram that were watching. We just finished up, and we're now just enjoying